There you go.
Hi, nice to meet you. Lovely city, and now I'm gonna try to hook this microphone on. So, well, I think a lot of you have been in the following different discussions in the data, LinkedIn, data, Twitter, whatnot, and it seems that data modeling has been a hot topic recently, and so this is my take on it. I also, and if you haven't yet read, I wrote a data modeling manifesto. You can find it from our website, reconfigured.io. 13 pages of me ranting about data modeling. It was supposed to be a blog post. So, who am I? I'm co-founder of Reconfigured. We make data modeling more accessible. In practice, what we do, we generate dbt code. You can find me from different social medias, usually with the handle Nipsoli. In TikTok, it was taken, so I'm double underscoring it, I'm Dunbar methoding it. What have I done during my career? I started as an Excel analyst, over 10 years ago, learned how to do SQL, was on the data analytics team at DealDAS, learned how to write SQL on really bad production database, learned how to actually make queries run. Did some Facebook marketing optimization, founded one company between, got back to marketing with influencer marketing, have done mostly productized analytics and as a part of machine learning and stuff like that. A lot of cool technologies on the way, and now focused on on dbt and making data modeling in more in the analytics and operational analytics space, but a strong background in doing quite a ton of stuff. Warning: this may contain some spicy opinions, and feel free to disagree with me, and then we can go outside and discuss them over the beers. But I really like a good argument, because of that helps us all to get to the better results in the end. You've been warned. Let's start with this number. Again, it was the 2017 report that basically most of the data initiatives had failed. And this number makes me super fucking sad. There was the more recent number of the trust in data on a scale 0 to 10 is around 2.6 or something like that, which makes me really embarrassed to be a data professional, and embarrassed of our whole and trade, that what have we been doing. In 10 years we've been saying that data is the new oil, and it's going to be bring all the goodness of everything, but it turned out that dumping everything into a data lake and trying to sparkle on some data science on top didn't help. So how are we going to fix it? And then when I'm discussing with professionals on the field, it feels that data modeling is kind of like a lost art. Of course, I acknowledge that in many larger enterprises, data modeling never went away. It was always there, but I call it the dark decade of data, 2010s, and with the craze of starting from the application scene with MongoDB from late 2000s, and it was NoSQL this, and then data folks followed behind with Hadoop and data lakes and stuff like that. And the funny thing, if you look at how the pendulum has swung, with the new SQL databases in application development, and now people are realizing that actually and if we did a little bit of data modeling beforehand, it might help us. And this is the and what I'm observing, that there isn't enough knowledge and enough education and enough skills on doing this well. And the sad thing is that if there is someone who is who claims that they know how to do data modeling, basically the only thing that they know is dimensional modeling, and no, I'm not allowing star schemas in my data warehouse. because like, and it's not like, and if you want to build a data warehouse that is actually being able to answer all the questions that the enterprise is having, all, even it doesn't need to be enterprise, a smaller company, star schema isn't the way. And then some of those, like, and I've talked to people who say that, okay, we're doing dimensional modeling and we are having slowly changing dimension 2, and we are at the top of the, like, an art that this is the best that we can do, and like, and there is nothing that you can do better. And I'm like, please, come on, read a little bit like more. And the other sad thing is that whenever I ask around, like, what are the good recommendations of getting into data modeling or helping newcomers to the trade, like a new analyst, new analytical engineers, I get one comment is that there is some old fart coming into the conversation and saying that this is, you should know about this, and like, and we've been always doing it like this, and like, and way you're not helping. What have you been doing if you're not being helping new generation of learning the trade? And the other solution I get is like a list of big books to read, and that is, well, nobody has time for that in their job. Great books. I have like a pile of books, and like, and most of them are most of them are not helping. And don't even get me started on time. Like the previous talk was like a nicely on time, and like, and every single company requires to be able to report historically, and that's goddamn hard. So I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to like help educate new generation of analytical engineers, analysts, and whatnot. Some say that we need to bridge the gap between the first generation data folks and the third generation of data folks, of bringing back like some good ideas from the old school data modeling stuff. And just to recap, like, what is the technology landscape that we live in? Like, and we have amazing data platforms nowadays. It's like, my God, it's a dream of like, and everything can be accessed in a single platform. You can access everything via like a single SQL interface, and it makes life so easy. Then we have dbt making it even more accessible. But in the end, if we are just relying on the technology, it's not helping enough. Like, and just giving the ability to write models with SQL for everyone, it is not the kind of like solution to these things. But it also, like the modern technologies, also help us that we don't need to, most of us don't need to anymore optimize that much for the technology, and we can actually write the data in a little bit differently than like 10, 20 years ago. And well, this is my take on like a lot of so like this is my take on like a lot of the DP, like, and if you need to be able to know what you're actually doing. dbt, great tool, but it lacks guardrails. Okay, I'm gonna wait for the final final photo. So one book that I've been actually referencing a lot lately is Building the Data Warehouse by Bill Inman from 30 years ago. And the funny thing is that most of the stuff, there are a lot of stuff that is really valid, and that was written like 30 years ago. 1993 was or 1992 was it when it was originally released. If anyone has it on a paperback somewhere to be found, I'm willing to purchase it. I haven't found it anywhere in a physical form. I've been reading it from the Internet Archive. So basically, you need to have to build trust, you need to have an architectured environment. And then, okay, we Google like how to build an architectured data environment, and then you get this like a reference data architecture thingy, and all of a sudden, like you get overwhelmed, and then you try to like explain it to the stakeholders that, hey, we need to actually it in this way, that we have these different stages, landing, raw storage, and then people start to think that, oh, this is going to be like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of work, and we fall back to the query-driven development of like just pulling stuff together. But there is a valid point in here, so let's simplify it a little bit. Like the layered architecture, really good. And please stop calling it the medallion architecture, like the bronze, silver, gold, like, and has zero meaning, and it's confusing as, I had a swearing limit. So in the end, you're basically having the landing zone. One could call it the operational data store. Those who have read the Corporate Information Factory, and it's the current state. Then you have something magical happening, and then you land in the data warehouse. And I am a strong believer of that the data warehouse, if we want to make it so that it can answer like most of the questions, it needs to be subject-oriented, integrated, time variant, and non-volatile. And then on top of that, you can build your Mars, whatever. Then you can have your star schemas if you're absolutely like a pervert. But or one big table, like a crate, like on a Mars table. But the data warehouse, let's make that the like the source of truth and everything. So, but what about the like it will take time to build this stuff? Well, 30 years ago, there's a couple of quotes from the building data warehouse. Analyst operates quite legitimately in give me what I want, and then I can tell you what I really want mode. So we need to have a really short feedback loops. This is not a new idea. This was written 30 years ago. Okay, the shorter the cycle of feedback loop, the more successful the warehouse effort. 30 years ago written. Data warehouses are not built at once. Instead, data warehouses are designed and populated step at a time, and as such are evolutionary, not revolutionary. And this saddens me the most, because seeing companies where it's like, now we are having this fixed time of like, and we are building the data warehouse, we are setting it up. It's a 6 months, 12 months project, then it's done, and we will never come back to it. And it's going to be a failure, because like, and it was never meant to be one time. It's an evolutionary process of building it. So let's bring back the good ideas of like starting from the conceptual modeling. Like, and so many times you see people that they look at the data and then they're like, okay, what data do I have? What data do I have? And then start like just smashing it together instead of like first starting from what are the questions that we are actually trying to model? What are we actually trying to answer? How does our business actually work? And like the funny thing is that, well, I've been workshopping with different companies, like they have said that the workshop of like, and we were just like on the whiteboard for 1 hour of drawing like, and what is our business about? What are the core concepts of our business was the most valuable thing. And you don't need much. You can have the whiteboard and the pencil. It doesn't need to be like a full-on like an virtual ER diagram. You don't need to learn the specifics of like an ensemble logical modeling or beam or whatever, like business, what it is, being business and the event analysts, whatever. But you know the thing, it's just like think a little bit on hand, and then you move to start adding the structure with the logical modeling. Inman in the book, he was still calling it the mid-level model 30 years ago, instead of like the logical model that and it became to be known. Primary grouping of data, secondary grouping of data, connectors signifying the relationship of data between major subject areas and type of data. And that's about it. Not much, like no need to do a fancy tool, like and just like and write it down. Writing it down. And this has been like super helpful of actually getting to the logical model, because like sometimes it feels that people mix the conceptual and logical, or then they mix the logical and the physical, because like they are really different things. What are the business concepts? What are the core entities? What are the core attributes? What are the core activities they are doing? And then like, and what is the data that represents everything? What are the types and whatnot? And then the physical, like where you need to still do trade-offs because of technology is still like, and even though it's amazing, it's not that. But the beauty of the modern technologies is that you can have the actual physical model quite close to the logical model. So here's a joke. Yeah. Well, good logical model turns one-to-one to a physical model, and only in the corner cases you need to actually do something else than like having it. And when you have aligned the data by the actual business subjects, it's so easy for the analysts to actually ask questions, and even those people who do not have really good technical capabilities, so they can actually pull the data, especially to their spreadsheet, and do the magic in the spreadsheet, which is amazing analytics tool. So that was the theory department. Now to the paid ad. And so reconfigured, I'm gonna describe this in the what are we solving, and how we are solving, and it's not what are the underlying mechanisms that we try to bring to this this part, and especially because we want the data to be integrated, and we want it to be time variant. And what are the things that I found on how it can be built, and what kind of code, for example, our application is generating to pull any different sources. Doesn't matter what the sources are together into a nicely nice layout. And well, in the end, I don't know how many of you have read about anchor modeling, but in the end, most of the modeling techniques are about anchoring, of hooking up the data from different sources to be the one around a certain subject. So the Teradata was about the temporal tables in the source level. So if you don't have the temporal tables available, I am not a fan of the dbt snapshots, because I want the pipelines as much as append only as possible. And there is, because if the logic is built on append only, it can be then when the streaming info tools come better, more accessible and such, it's then easy to do it with those as well. It's an append only data structure. How do you define the so this is just a replication of the operational data store. This is basically the operational data store, but you add a couple of things. I always identify things by the content hash, because and there is no, I think no other way of really identifying things than its content. So that macro hash from calls is basically a SHA-56 of the, in BigQuery it's the row as a struct, and yada 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 yada. I don't believe in the valid from valid to Windows or storing those. I only think about as of, because then I can once again get to the append only semantics. So here pulling the update time as the as of. Loaded add, well, the runtime start, that's a shorthand for the dbt exposes the runtime start, but a shorthand macro that I have. And what was the source, and what was the primary key of the source? Because with these I can hook up quite a lot. This is the project ID of the table projects, and of course filtering everything that has been loaded before this run, because there might be a concurrent loading going on. And then oh, there's a missing one from qualify row number over partition by hash, and then observing. But we make it time variant. It's an operational data store, but time variant. The one trick here is the force people not to override it with the full refresh fault, and has saved me a couple of times. Especially if it's a source that is continuously updated and not, and some incremental loading variables, and then well, we know how to do incremental loading. You get the latest loaded at, and you assume that the loaded at timestamps are monotonically increasing and does not go backwards. Update times can go backwards, but loaded at cannot. So, and repeating that, I believe in a single as of column instead of the window of valid from valid to, because that allows me to avoid updates, because then I can always find the next row with a window function, which in columnar oriented databases is quite nice and fast and whatnot. I realized that this summer I solved the how to generate in a generic way of like joining through multiple sources so that it actually has the validity of the relationship between the sources. I realize that I have no time on explaining what it goes on, because like, and if you need to, for example, in this case, there is the concept of service. Let's say like, and it's a billable service, like you're a cloud provider, and every time like the service like an EC2 is up and running, like, and it's billable hours, it depends on which project it is, and then like what is the billing entity that it's attached. And the funny thing is that because people can change the project of an or change the billing entity of an project, so calculating like the when a relationship changes or the reference key changes, you need to actually split that into multiple rows in your time variant table, because it was a deletion of another relationship and a creation of another relationship, and it gets quite complicated and then joining through the validity ranges of these to get. We basically built the hook of like, and this hash from this table is linked to this entity ID, and it's valid at this timestamp. And we generate this, by the way, automatically. This is like in reality, this is like a 500 lines long query, and we can auto-generate this shit. And then, of course, like, and because we have, and beautifully, we have the time variant sources, time variant relationships of hooking it, like, and calculating the actual entity at any given point in time becomes quite easy, because we always take the, well, here is the current timestamp, but what was the latest row before the time that we want, take the, well, the first row, and then you can kind of like, and then the integrating those together, like, and calculating that, okay, I wanted the billing entity information combined with the actual, like, because the billing entity contains some like an savings or like savings multiplier, because of like, and you have commitments over longer periods of time, and then combining that with the actual, like, what was the services, billable hours or whatever. So gets solved really nicely. And yeah, I think like, and I should probably like write this in a like a written format and explaining like step by step this. So reconfigure, design DBT ready, data models from radar to analytics ready, analytics and operations ready data sets. Like, and basically you define what you want, what do you have, we generate the transformations between. Questions? Yeah, we are like bullish on the AI generated stuff. Like, and our art director loves Midjourney. Yeah. This one. Okay.
I said, well done. So I'm a data querier more than I'm a data modeler. So I like valid from and valid to, because sometimes I have to know if something sits between two things. So if you're modeling data, I can understand why you only go to sort of the as of, but that creates a burden on the people that are querying the table afterwards, right?
You can always build on top of like this, because like now I was just focusing on building the data warehouse layer, so that allows to answer any questions. And then when we get to different use cases, it makes sense to like have a different, more specialized views. But like, and how do we first generate the possibility of answering all of these questions?
But you're still forcing a window function query at a later stage, right? Because some person has to say, what's the last value of this particular thing to get to the...
Yes, we need to kind of like, because now we have the data in the shape that it's aligned by the business concept and core business concepts, and you can answer any question. Any question. The next step is then to build like for the specific reporting needs, like, and is it better to then split it back to the valid to, valid from? But if you go directly there, or then you're quite often you need to re-implement a lot of things. again and again for the different use cases.
Yeah, I like the idea because it's frustrating to have to update the rows with the valid twos to a new value, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
But this is kind of like the just the integrating all the different data sources into a shape that it can be then easily used in that way. But yeah, valid, pun intended, question.
Valid until what?
More questions? I have one.
Hey, throw the turn it that one, the black one up.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can hold it in your.
So I heard that you speak about DBT as a possible target in reconfigured.
Yeah, we
What
compile into DBT code. Yeah.
Do you also have other targets besides DBT code?
Not at the moment, but it's well, with the current engineering resources of me and one other, it's like a little bit hard on developing other targets, but there is no reason why it shouldn't, because in the end, behind the scenes, we have a domain-specific language that is not directly exposed to users for most of the things, which allows us to do really flexible transformations, helping people to build transformations in a composable way, which is hard in SQL. With macros you can, but writing macros is pain in the ass for most people. We try to help it we have an actually open source package of some of the macros that we build and try to build. But yeah, it first generates the logical DAG and then in the end compiles it into DBT. So it would be just like adding something like a SQL mesh or something else. It's just another adapter.
Okay. Do you have one quick example of something that it's a nightmare to type on DBT but very easy in reconfigure?
Oh, what could be tough one? I will come up with one. I will let's go and look at the my test environment if I can find something from there, because because it's not about the hardness of certain things. It's kind of managing the complexity in a smaller bits, that defining once that this is the way these source tables are linked together, and not needing to think about that at the same time that you're defining an attribute, because dealing with complex queries requires a huge mental overhead because you need to think it as a whole at once. So and I'm not saying that you are not able to do it, but there are a lot of people who can do it faster when they can focus on the small task at hand. And especially when it comes to this, you can pipe through SQL functions and macros in the same syntax. So you can have first a SQL function, then a macro, then a SQL function, then a macro in the same syntax, and we will process it in a way that it actually works.
No, good to know. Thomas, you had a... Ooh, okay. You will need to have passed by.
Throw it.
Throw it. There are some glasses behind you.
There we go.
It's a good catcher.
We didn't hit the glasses. This is good. This is good luck, Niko. This is good luck. Thank you first of all for an excellent talk. I enjoy the color red and I enjoy the contents. So that's a sort of nice combination there for me. I want to raise one thing that you said, which I very much subscribe to, which is the fact that there's a lot to learn in Internet Archives and in what people figured out in engineering in the 1980s, 1990s. Right? And my question is, from the sort of different modeling approaches, Inman, so domain kind of aligned modeling, Kimball, dimension modeling, one big table, modern data stack modeling, whatever you want to call it. Kimball in particular was written or designed not in my experience because I was not doing data in 1995, but to my knowledge to increase performance on small data warehouses and databases. Now that cost of modern data stack, in particular usage costs on tools like Snowflake and apparently model cost on tools like dbt these days is becoming an issue again. Why would it make sense for even very high volume users of data models to use something like in-memory modeling, inspired modeling, given the fact that it's more computationally expensive? I think. Yeah?
Well, it depends. Every time, and everything is a trade-off. Like, for example, like the transformation layers that we generate, and are inspired by data vault and anchor modeling because of in those it's easier to do an incremental loading. And everything that we do is designed to be incrementally loaded. And not everything is optimized yet. Optimized yet. And the one why I like the idea of layering things in around the entities and it doesn't need to be a fully normalized or even in a third normal form, but because that makes it easy for people to consume. Because I feel that something like dimensions and facts are not understandable for a business user. And what is a dimension? What is a fact? If I want to know about user, if I can find it from a table called user, then it's there and all the relevant information. We know that storage cost is fraction of it, the computation cost, and then of course you need to optimize by depending on the use case, use case specific tables that most likely might live outside of the data warehouse in some
or in another layer, right, where you build your presentational sort of. I agree. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Niko. Well, would you like to have the dice here?
Sure, why not?
Okay.